Hello, my name is Ryan Clayton, and it truly is the most wonderful time of the year. And I'm not talking about the holiday season. No, it's March Madness. With the tournament being canceled last year due to COVID, excitement is through the roof this year for the tournament. My panel and I are going to be breaking down everything from the first four all the way to who's going to be cutting down the net. And of course, you can expect some upsets. So, with all that said, hello everyone. Again, my name is Ryan Clayton. I am joined by Jorie Mickens and Brendan Balsamo. Fellas, how are we doing?
Doing good. Just excited to talk basketball. We went a full year without anything, almost 2 years now. So finally excited to be able to talk March Madness once again.
Agreed. Yes, I'm doing very well. Thank you for asking, Ryan. How are you doing yourself?
I'm doing very well. Similar to Brendan, very excited to be talking about March Madness and the NCAA. So let's just kind of start with, a little bit of a pre-tournament discussion. Just a very, very brief recap. Season started on November 25th, wrapped up this past Saturday, March 14th. We had a very strange season of college basketball, probably one of the most unprecedented ever. So I guess one of the things to start off with, what were your impressions for the season as a whole?
I just thought it was something really crazy, something we've never seen before. We've seen, first of all, not even regarding COVID, we have a team going in undefeated into the March Madness, which is something we don't see very often at all. Just complete dominance from them, and also just the way teams had to deal with it. I remember the women's reveal show of the seeding. They revealed there was 2,000 games postponed or canceled during their season.
Ooh.
I could just imagine how many games of the men's were canceled as well. So it's truly crazy. It was frustrating, but it was also cathartic knowing that we were finally getting some college basketball back.
Yeah, I would have to agree with everything Brandon just said. I mean, just the fact that the players, the coaches, and all these programs got through this season after, if you would have told us a year ago that we would have put on a full season and we would have a tournament this year, I don't know if anyone really would have believed you. But we're just happy to have basketball back. It was obviously a tough season with a lot of cancellations, postponements, things like that. But we made it, and hopefully we can continue to progress and have an even better season next year.
Yeah, very well said from both of you. Yeah, I kind of share the same sentiment. I think we're really fortunate just to have a season this year. So one of the things, again, we talked about COVID. Do you think there was a lot of precautions put into place from the NCAA and teams, but overall, do you think the NCAA did enough to protect its players and coaches?
I think so. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of players being just frustrated in the fact that they haven't seen their families since August. And I know I saw Miles Johnson on Rutgers. They were saying he hasn't seen his family since August, and he's really excited to see them because they got tickets to the tournament. So I think the fact that they're so isolated. I mean, just walk around on campus, you hardly see any basketball players anywhere, and that was during our season. We didn't even make the tournament, unfortunately. But it's just crazy seeing the precautions that they're taking. They're getting tested like twice a day. I think the NCAA did a good job, and I think positives are inevitable, especially in staff, not just players. So I think NCAA did all they could.
Yeah, it's pretty tough for me to say whether or not the NCAA did a good job handling the coronavirus pandemic this season, because really I can't really put myself in the shoes of a player or a coach who had to go through this season. We can read what kind of protocols they had to go through, but we don't know the emotional toll it took on them, like Brandon was saying. So it is tough for me to say that the NCAA did the best that they could. I'm sure they did, but I can't accurately say whether or not yes or no, I guess.
I think that's a really fair point. For me personally, I thought overall they did a good enough job. The only two things I would maybe comment on are, multiple stoppages from teams. Was interesting to see. I don't know at one point if they had the power to say like, hey, like take some more time and stuff. And I don't know, maybe they could have utilized a bubble format more. We saw that for the tournaments and everything, but I think during regular season they could have used that a little more. So moving away from COVID, I do want to know, I mean, besides just kind of everything with COVID, what was an interesting storyline for the season? Could really be anything. We had I would say, very fun and very unique season. So what was just one storyline that you really liked this season?
I love good underdog stories, great teams kind of faltering to give opportunity to other people. So seeing the Blue Bloods, kind of struggle to have good seasons, such as Duke not even making the tournament, Kentucky not making the tournament, UNC not being, top 25 ranked like they typically are. I think that was so interesting because then it gives rise to other teams and gives them a shot to make a name for themselves too.
Yeah, I think just really going off what Brennan said, just the rise of some, I guess, unfamiliar names. I mean, I think Illinois being as good as they were this season was a very fun story to watch. I had Sumu, Kofi Coburn, like we'll talk about them for sure, but just the players, I think, putting on a tremendous season despite everything, all the circumstances. It was a lot of fun watching all the talented players. And again, we'll talk about all those players shortly.
We do have a lot to get into. So moving on to the next segment, just kind of, actually getting to the tournament now. So we're going to be going through seeding, the first four, and kind of the opening round. So let's start with the seeding. Was there any team who got in that you kind of didn't think should be in, or vice versa? Yeah, what were your thoughts on overall seeding?
I thought the seating was mostly good. Very upset Seton Hall didn't make it. Just because it's college basketball. I'm repping the Kevin Willard shirt. I thought Drake got kind of an unfair hand. They had a really good season. They did not lose many games at all. They went on, I believe, a 21-20 game win streak. And the fact that they're just last four in, I think that's kind of unfair. They obviously showed that they were probably a top tier team in the country, and they didn't get a fair hand when it came to seeding.
Yeah, one team that I think got an unfair seeding as well is Oklahoma State. I think they have arguably the best player in college basketball in Cade Cunningham, and they got a 4 seed in the Midwest region, which is extremely tough. They'll probably, if they win their first round matchup, have to most likely face Tennessee, and then in the Sweet 16, most likely face Illinois. And I think they put on a show throughout this entire season. I think they were more deserving of a higher seed than what they got.
Yeah, I definitely agree with both points. So, with kind of the seeding out of the way, let's move on to some matchups. So, the first four will be taking place on Thursday, which is tomorrow at the time of this recording. And we're going to see a bunch of different teams play in some of the last couple teams in. So, my question really for these first four matchups is, could you see any of the 11 seeds making it past the first round? I guess also, too, if you have a 16 beating a 1, let me know. I'm curious.
Like I said with Drake, I think Drake is going to make the Sweet 16 and, unfortunately end up losing to Iowa. That's a tough hand. But I think once they get through the first four, it's not a particularly difficult path. They will have to face Kansas, but Kansas isn't the 1 or 2 seed that they typically are every year. I think they have a great team. They had a great season. If they keep the play up that they did over the season, I think they could make a Sweet 16 run.
Yeah, and an 11 seed play-in team that I think could upset their first round matchup is Michigan State. They'll have BYU in the first round. I mean, they are a very good offensive team. They have Aaron Henry, Rocket Watts, Joshua Langford. Those are 3 players that can really just take over a game whenever they want. So I think BYU, obviously, they also have a really potent offense, but I think if the Spartans can take care of their matchup UCLA in their first four, then I think they have a really solid shot of taking down BYU.
Yeah, that's an interesting matchup, BYU and whoever they end up playing, because, BYU has some experience playing tough teams, having Gonzaga, I believe, twice this year. But let's start to get into some spicy stuff. Let's talk upsets. So what's a big upset you have in this tournament? Let's get your spiciest upsets.
I think one that a lot of people have is probably Winthrop over Villanova. Villanova is pretty beat down right now. They don't have Colin Gillespie. Justin Moore is a little beat down, I think. And Winthrop has only lost one game this season. I think that's definitely a possible upset. And then I also have one that I think would upset Jorie. I have Liberty over Oklahoma State in the first round. Yes, Oklahoma State is Cade Cunningham. They're a great team. I think Liberty has been hot all year. They are, I believe, 23-5. I feel like they can make a deep run in the tournament if they get hot.
That's definitely going to be a tough matchup for Liberty, I have to say, Brandon. But we'll see. Who knows? I also agree with you, though. I think Winthrop has a really solid chance of taking down Villanova just because, like you said, Colin Gillespie is going to be out. Winthrop with Chandler Valdrin, he's one of the best mid-major players in the entire country. One of 3 players to average at least 12 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists this season. So I think Winthrop could pull off one of those classic 12-5 upsets this year.
All right, so mine is probably the biggest one I have, and I will explain it, but I have Colgate beating Arkansas in the first round. I am all or nothing on the Razorbacks. I think either they're a Final Four team or they're losing in the first round. I am so black and white on them. And to Colgate's credit, they are a very fast-paced team. Their defense is solid all around. I think that could be the biggest upset in this tournament. Now, while we're on the subject of upsets, is there any upset you see that people are talking about that you just kind of think won't happen or is almost like too obvious, too good to be true?
After Loyola Chicago made that Final Four run a couple years ago, everyone is high on them again. But if they do end up beating Georgia Tech in the first round, which is very likely, they will more than likely have to face a very hot, very, very talented Illinois team in the second round. I can't see them getting through that. People keep saying Loyola Chicago is going to make a Final Four run, but I just can't see them getting past the round of 32.
Another 12-5 matchup that I think I've seen a lot of people saying could go in the favor of the lower seed is Georgetown versus Colorado. Georgetown obviously coming off the Big East championship, but I think Colorado is just being slept on way too much in that matchup. I really don't know if the Hoyas have what it takes to knock off the Buffaloes. I think McKinley Wright is one of the best players in the Pac-12, if not the best. And I think the Colorado's going to get it done.
All right. Yeah, for this, I know, Brendan, you talked about, kind of that Winthrop over Nova upset. But here's the thing. Winthrop is a very solid team. And, Nova did lose their best player in Gillespie. But the thing is what do you call it? I'm not doubting Jay in a tournament setting. I don't think they'll go terribly far, but I could see Nova advancing. So with that said, let's move on to the Sweet 16. So kind of keeping up again with upsets. I want to know if any of your upset teams make it to the Sweet 16. So yeah, do you have any upset in the first round that you think can get it done in the second round as well?
Like I said before, I have that Drake matchup. I have them making the Sweet 16. I have them getting by Kansas or an Eastern Washington team, and then unfortunately having to face Iowa that round. But then I feel like if Liberty can get by Oklahoma State, they can definitely make a run into the Sweet 16. And also, I think Florida is a very talented team. They have what it takes to beat both Virginia Tech and Ohio State. Ohio State's a good team, but I think they have the skills to beat them. I think any of those teams we could easily see in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, I think one of the teams, I know we keep talking about them, but Winthrop, they would obviously have to beat Villanova, but then they would have to take on Purdue in the round of 32, most likely, and that would be obviously super tough for them. Purdue has one of the best big men in the Big Ten, Travion Williams, and Winthrop does not have a lot of size, but I think just based on them not them not making too many mistakes themselves, that being Winthrop, I think that they're not going to beat themselves. So I think they're a team that has Sweet 16 potential.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the talk about Winthrop. Really, how how the seeding kind of shakes out. I have them beating Purdue, but Purdue really doesn't scare me. They do have length. They do have a lot of length. But besides that, there's really nothing that jumps out to me. So I very much think that this could be a Winthrop moving on to the Sweet 16. So up to this point, do you have any, what do you call it? Any of the number one seeds going out before the Sweet 16?
Not before, but in the Sweet 16, I have Michigan losing to Florida State.
Mm.
Florida State's a good team. They have a lot of size. I believe the first or second tallest team in the country. Michigan State, Michigan's without their best player for possibly until the Elite Eight. I think every team needs that one guy that they can rely on. And if Michigan doesn't have that, I can't see them. I can't see them beating a team like Florida State.
And Brennan, you pretty much stole my pick. I don't have anyone, or I don't have any of the number one seeds at least losing before the Sweet 16. But yes, in the Sweet 16, I think Florida State could take down Michigan. Michigan has been great all season long. I love what Juwan Howard is doing, but like Brendan said, I think Florida State has some serious potential to make a run here in the tournament.
Yeah, definitely some very good picks. So yeah, let's move on to the Elite Eight now. Same kind of question. I know, Brendan, you already answered, but do you have, I guess, at this point, any of the number one or two seeds going out in the Sweet 16?
In the Elite Eight, I have Virginia beating Iowa, and I think I honestly think that's very plausible to happen. And of course, I have my big upset pick, Liberty over Houston in the Elite Eight. I feel like if there's got to be a team every year that just makes that run, like a low team that makes that run. It could be either Winthrop, it could be Liberty. In my opinion, I think it's going to be Liberty, and they're going to beat Houston in the Elite Eight.
Yeah, in the Elite Eight, I have Gonzaga over Iowa. I think Gonzaga's just going to plow through pretty much everyone up until the Final Four. And then one team I think could potentially get to the Final Four that isn't a one seed, take off a number one seed, is West Virginia over Illinois. If that matchup does happen, I do like West Virginia's team a lot. And obviously, Illinois has one of the best 1-2 inside out duos in the country, but West Virginia has a pretty stacked team. So don't be surprised if the Mountaineers get to the Final Four.
Yeah, West Virginia is personally a great pick, I think. So since we have so few teams left in the Elite Eight, we've already talked about some of the matchups we have. So what is your Elite Eight looking like, if you want to give us the full rundown?
So I had Gonzaga losing to Virginia in the Sweet 16. So my Elite Eight would be Virginia, Iowa in the West. And then in the South, I have Baylor and Arkansas. In the Midwest, I have Liberty and Houston. And in the East, I have Alabama and Florida State. I think, some of them aren't very unpredictable. But then again, I have a team like Liberty in there, which, you have to throw in one.
Yeah, my Elite Eight, I have Gonzaga, Iowa in the Western region. I have Florida State and Texas in the Eastern region. I have Baylor and Arkansas in the South region, and then I have Illinois and West Virginia in the Midwest region. So kind of almost chalk for my bracket, at least this one that I made. But yeah, I don't have too many low seeds making it to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, I think that's something maybe a lot of people do, especially I do, is I'll try to have the upsets early on, because I think once you get down to the Elite Eight and Final Four, I think it kind of like balances itself out, the better teams winning and all that. So, I do want to go into your Final Four matchups. So from those Elite Eight that you have, who do you have? Who are the four teams that are making it to the Final Four?
In my, I guess I'll go in the same order. In my Virginia-Iowa matchup, I have Virginia, and in my Alabama-Florida State matchup, I have Alabama. So that would be 4 Virginia versus 2 Alabama. And then in Baylor-Arkansas, I have Baylor. And in my Liberty-Houston matchup, I have Liberty. So that would be Virginia-Alabama and Baylor versus Liberty in my Final Four.
Yeah, in my Final Four, I have Gonzaga moving on to face Florida State. And then in the South Midwest region, I have Baylor and West Virginia. So I think that Final Four, you got 2 1 seeds, Gonzaga and Baylor, and then some lower seeds in Florida State and West Virginia. So
Yeah. So Brendan, you are really high on Liberty. They're going to the Final Four, you're saying?
I mean, you have to pick one team every year to go deep, and I have this inkling about Liberty. I mean, they were the best team in their conference. They have really good 3-point shooting, which is a lot of teams' weaknesses, the perimeter defense. So I feel like if they really exploit that, I think they can make a run. Especially if you look at they keep opponents to under 60 points per game, and they themselves score 75 points per game. So they're also no defensive fluke either. I think they can really make a run.
All right. Well, you're doing a good job convincing me. So yeah, I like the for you, Jorie. I do like that. I'm high on Florida State as well. I really think they're an overall solid team. I can't see a bunch of I don't see a lot of teams beating them in the field. So I think that's a great Final Four matchup. I'm trying to think for I guess I'll go into my Elite Eight. And Final Four. So my Elite Eight would be what do you call it? It would be Gonzaga and Iowa. I would have Gonzaga moving on because I think Gonzaga would be able to contain Garza. Also, I have Florida State and Texas for my Elite Eight, which I think I would pick Texas there because I think their defense is just too much for Florida State. I've also got, who else do I have for my Elite Eight? I have Baylor and Texas Tech. I think Baylor is able to slow down Texas Tech, so I have Baylor moving on. And then I am probably a team that I am very high on is Oklahoma State. This is probably a bold take, but I think we're going to see what was his name from Purdue? Carson Edwards. I think we're going to have a Carson Edwards-like performance from him. I think he's going to absolutely dominate. So, yeah, my Final Four would be Gonzaga, Texas, Baylor, and then, Oklahoma State. So let's move on to the championship. Who's, with your Final Four that you have, who are the teams that are going to make it to the finals?
So on the left side, I have Virginia and Alabama. Virginia's a fantastic team, but I'm going with Alabama there. I think they've been so solid all year. And then Baylor and my underdog in Liberty. I have Baylor winning that matchup. So goodbye Cinderellas story. Unfortunately, yes, they have a good matchup against Baylor, but I think Baylor pulls that out, just pure talent and coaching. So my championship matchup is Baylor, number 1 Baylor, number 2 Alabama.
Yeah, my championship matchup also includes Baylor. I think they're one of the best teams in the nation, and I know it's a bold take to choose a team that's undefeated and have them go through the entire season undefeated. But I have Gonzaga winning it all in my bracket, taking down Baylor. That's a matchup that we could have seen earlier on in the season, but unfortunately that game got canceled. So I think college basketball fans are going to be able to watch that one finally, and I think the Zags are going to get it done.
Yeah, just to go back to you, Brendan. Sorry, I don't know if you said yours, but who do you have winning it all?
I have Baylor winning it all. I think
Okay.
Baylor's such a talented team. They have a good coach. They've been good consistently for years. So I think it's their time this year.
All right, yeah, I think that Baylor pick is fantastic. So for my championship, I have Gonzaga moving on to the championship. I honestly have OSU too. I think Oklahoma State is going to make it to the championship. And from there, I think Gonzaga completes the perfect season. They're for that matchup, they have to play. I think Gonzaga's going to have to hit threes in order to win. And if you're OSU, you have to step it up on defense if you're going to win. I've also got I guess it's the tiebreaker part. I have Gonzaga winning 79-70 over Oklahoma State. So with all that said, I believe we have time to just very quickly talk about the women's tournament. So for that, what is, I just kind of want to know, what are your, big teams or big players we should be looking out for?
I got my eyes on two things. I have my eyes on Maryland. I think they're a really good team. I believe they're a 2 seed. They can make a deep run. They have some really talented bigs that are stretches, and they're going to be able to exploit a lot of slower teams. And I have my eyes on some freshman players. I have my eyes on Paige Beckers. Obviously, she's been basically the player of the year all year, and Haley Van Lith on Louisville. I think they both were some very highly touted recruits. I think they can make some real splashes in the tournament.
Yeah, there's a lot of really great teams in this women's side of the tournament. I think Georgia is a team that I think a lot of people should look out for, and another team that I'm going to be very excited to watch is Iowa. They have Caitlin Clark, who's one of the best, if not the best, freshman, depending on how you view Paige Beckers. I think she's going to be phenomenal, and we could potentially see a matchup between UConn and Iowa, and I believe the Sweet 16. So hopefully we can get that one, because that would be a very, very fun game to watch.
Yeah, I think those are great players you're mentioning. Now, for the last question, we are running, we're about to wrap things up, but I do want to know for the women's, we talked about players, but who is, a team that you think has a really good shot to win it all for the women's side?
This is such the generic answer, but of course you have to go with UConn. Their head coach just got diagnosed with COVID, may miss the first game or two, but they're such a talented team, such great recruiters that they're like a brick wall. You just can't see anyone getting through them. So that's why I got to go with UConn. But also, like I said, Maryland is a team that should definitely keep your eye on as well.
I think South Carolina has what it takes to win it all this year. They have Zia Cook, Aaliyah Boston, Destiny Henderson on their team. I mean, they dominated the SEC. They played UConn probably the best of any team this season during the regular season. I think they have what it takes to win it all, and I would not be surprised if they're the ones cutting down the nets at the end of this tournament.
Yeah, I think the biggest team for me, UConn, of course, I mean, always a threat, always a good pick. But the team I really like is Stanford. I think, their dominance in the Pac-12 tournament really kind of showed that this team can play with just about anyone. So that is all the time we unfortunately have for today. I want to thank you guys so much, Brendan and Jorie, for coming on and talking college basketball with me, the tournament and bracketology. I apologize if you can hear my dog. He is Duncan, the wonder-picking bracketology dog. He tells me all my picks. So thank you, Duncan. And thank you for watching as well. Please check out the rest of Pirate TV's content. If you have some picks that you either agree or disagree with, please let us know down in the comments below. And until next time, we'll see you here on Pirate TV.